If you're a pro club's midfielder looking for a build that can pretty much do anything on the pitch, then look no further than this build right here. In my opinion, this is one of the most well-rounded builds you can make in all of FIFA 23 pro clubs. Check out some of these clips and stay tuned for the rest of the video.
No, it was the net. The net. The ball went right into a red square. It looked like...
I'm a beast!
What's going on?
Oh, don't lose it. Dunked. That deflection made it perfect. Oh. What? I pressed B one too many times.
Oh gosh, right back to him.
Destroyed.
Thanks, dog. See you, Iron? Yep.
Nice. Oh,
Let's go.
go to the opposite side. Are you shooting?
Got it.
Let me go out the way. Dang, I looked away.
Got it.
They got
Blocked it. So as you can see from those initial clips, this build pretty much turns into a Swiss Army knife and can do it all. Looking at these stats on the left, all these attributes, you can see I tried to make it as well-rounded as possible. 2 of the categories are at 86 and all the other ones are at 85. So honestly, I really do think this is one of the most well-rounded builds you could possibly make this year in pro clubs. And of course, we are listed as a center midfielder. This is the most well-rounded position in order to get a very well-rounded build like this. And it is Hullet Gang, of course. Every attribute is 80 or higher. And even on the skill tree, I think literally every single attribute on the skill tree is 80 or higher, except for penalties, because who really cares about penalties, especially for a center midfielder. So make sure you are listed as a center mid for this build, and then make sure you have the height and weight the exact same, because this is very important in order to make this build extremely well-rounded. Because if I change the height, go up, you'll see that some of the categories go down. And then if I lower it to like 6'2" or something, some categories get lower. And then back to 6'4", it's what I had it at. And same with the weight. If I bump the weight up a bit, some stats will go down to 84. And then the same thing if I go down to the next weight section below 198. So make sure with the weight, you are either 176 to 198. That's the range you're going to be at. If you go any higher or lower than that, the stats will change. And make sure you are 6'4". That is very important for this build. Preferred foot, that is up to you guys. Let's take a look at the perks. As you'd expect for a box-to-box midfielder like this one, there is a ton of options you can go with when it comes to perks. But I have some recommendations and preferences that I'll share with you guys. The first one is physical strength. The physical stats are pretty decent. Like I think the strength is in like 83 around there, and then the jumping is around the same. So the physical strength will be great to basically probably bump up the jumping and strength into the 90s. That'll be good, especially since this is a big build. And I actually did score quite a bit of headers with this build. You can get into the box if you have some players that can cross the ball in, and you can score some headers because the heading is good, and then you have some height, and the physical strength will increase your jumping more. The second perk I went for is threaded pass. This is probably one of the best perks in the game and one of my favorite perks. I have this on a lot of builds, especially builds where I'm trying to pass the ball a lot. Threaded pass will increase your vision and just make your through balls more accurate. It'll give you the 5-star weak foot, but this build already has a 5-star weak foot. By the way, this build has 5-star weak foot, 5-star skills to make it even more well-rounded, I guess. And it'll grant you the swerve trait and flare trait. It's a very good perk just for making your through balls more accurate, and it can lead to a lot of assists, but you could definitely change this out for any other perk, like another passing perk. I'll give you some alternatives after I wrap up this last perk. Skill dribbler is one that I switched to like midway using this build. At first I was using chase down. Chase down is a great perk, especially for a midfielder build, a box-to-box one like this. I would recommend this perk if you want to go for a defensive perk. Definitely, I think that one's the best. But I went skill dribbler. The dribbling stat I think is like 86 around there. And as a bigger build where we don't have crazy agility and balance, it's still pretty good. But the skill dribbler will just make your dribbling attribute better, and it'll also give you like a permanent flare trait. So I really like skill dribbler, and I'm a huge fan of dribbling and utilizing 5-star skills. So That's just my preference, but for some of y'all would rather probably use like chase down or even like tireless runner if y'all prefer that. Precision pass, like I said, you could go both passing perks. Light passes could be an option. Distant shooter, even though I scored a good amount of long shots, you don't necessarily need distant shooter, but it will make your long shots even better. Poacher if you're trying to get into the box a lot and score. First time shot, since this build is pretty good in the air, it'll give you the power header trait and make your headers even better, as well as make like any first time shot better. Other than that, I wouldn't really suggest much more other than like some defensive perks. If you want interceptor or ball winner, then you could do that. Maybe active first touch. I don't know how helpful that really is for a center mid build like this one, but these are the 3 perks that I use the majority of the time. And then I did swap out skill dribbler for chase down for a bit, and you can get a lot more tackles because of that and just win the ball and recover the ball a lot more for your team. So let's go ahead and look at this skill tree. We'll start by looking at the physical page first. And as I said earlier in the video, every single attribute on the skill tree is 80 or higher except for penalties. So on the left side of this physical page, I went for some strength right here, and then make sure to get the reactions, +3 reactions for 2 skill points. And the last thing on the left side is this +3 aggression. Make sure to get the far right aggression, not the one next to it, because this will only give you +2 for the same amount of skill points, while this will give you +3, and that'll get us to 82 aggression and 83 strength. And then on the right, we're going to get some stamina, and then make sure to also get this reactions. I wanted to get the reactions over 90, so +4 reactions for 2 skill points, and then get this +3 jumping, similar to the aggression on the left side. Make sure to get the far left jumping because it'll give you +3 rather than this one only giving you +2. And then I also went for some stamina to get it to 91. And as a center mid, stamina is very important, especially a box-to-box midfielder where you're going to be running up and down the field. So this is the physical page, and I use this build with the physical strength perk, so it'll increase the jumping and strength even more. So if you're going to be using that perk, you're actually even stronger and have better hops than what you see here. On to defending. This is where you'll see the first archetype on the build, and it is the Guardian archetype. I had to go for this in order to get the defensive stats up a lot. So on the right side, you're just going to get this defensive awareness and stand tackling, and then you'll go straight down to the Guardian archetype, and we'll get a lot of upgrades. And the last thing at the top left is the interceptions. As you can see, the interceptions is only at 77, so we're going to get this defensive awareness and interceptions. And then the last thing, in order to get the interceptions 80 or higher, is this +2 interceptions for 2 skill points. And the interceptions is one of the lower stats on this defensive page, as well as slide tackle. But in my opinion, slide tackling is the least important out of all the defensive attributes. So if you wanted, you could go for like an interceptor perk to increase the interceptions even more if you want to focus more on defense with this build. But the defensive capabilities is already very good. I got a lot of good stand tackles, slide tackles, and the 90 defensive awareness really helps stay in front of those defenders that are trying to beat you one-on-one. It'll kind of just lock you onto them, almost kind of like aim assist in shooter games. Defensive awareness helps a lot. And then the big body type with those long legs, you can definitely get a lot of long reaching tackles and slide tackles. It's a lot of fun playing defense with this build. Let's go over to dribbling. Knowing that this is a big build, I needed to go for a lot of upgrades to dribbling. So on the left side, I went down to the Maestro archetype, and it'll give you a good amount of agility and dribbling upgrades. Then on the right, I didn't get the Lynx archetype. It would have been too much skill points. We have to save skill points for other categories. But I did go for a lot of balance and ball control upgrades. And make sure to get this second part right here, +2 balance for only 1 skill point. And then I also got 5-star skills. I'm a huge fan of using skill moves, but if you don't use any 5-star skills, there's really no point of even having it on. It's just a waste of skill points. You can use those skill points in any category you'd like. You could upgrade the agility more and then use those 2 skill points somewhere else. It's really up to you what you want to do with those skill points if you don't want to use 5-star skills. But the dribbling is actually pretty nice on this build for such a big body. And I did use that skill dribbler perk for a reason, because this build has 86 dribbling. It'll just make it feel a little bit better on the ball when you're doing skills or just dribbling in general. So now let's switch over to the passing page, and the passing stats are pretty good. The best attribute that we have is 87 vision. And I did use the threaded pass perk to increase the vision even more. Some of y'all might be thinking, since it's the highest attribute, you don't really need the threaded pass perk, but it really does help a lot. Just having the threaded pass perk, even if your vision is still high. But again, you could go precision pass to upgrade the long passing and short passing even more if you don't want to go for threaded pass. It really kind of just depends on how you like to play or how you want to use this build and your team's play style. The next category is shooting, and as I already mentioned, I went for the 5-star weak foot. So on the left side, we're going for some shot power upgrades and then getting the weak foot. And every single upgrade you see here is needed because this is what will get your overall shooting attribute to 85. Even this one finishing, if you take off this one finishing, the total shooting attributes will go down to 84 if y'all even care about that. And if you like put it on long shots instead of finishing, it actually won't bump it up to 85. It'll still stay at 84. My guess is because finishing is weighted a little bit more when it comes to the average of shooting, and same thing when it comes to like penalties and free kick. Actually, it won't upgrade it to 85. You basically need this 86 finishing. So what you're going to do is go all the way down to the finisher archetype. You're going to get the 3 heading right here, and then you're going to get the second part on the third one, which is 4 skill points. It'll give you +4 heading and +4 volleys. Very good value. And then the last thing you'll get is this +3 finishing for 3 skill points to bump that up to 86. And honestly, as a center mid, these shooting attributes are pretty darn good. The only thing I wish could be a little bit better, I guess, is the shot power, but we just didn't have the skill points for that, unfortunately. And like I said, the only thing that's not 80 or higher when it comes to single attributes is penalties, but that's probably the least important attribute in the entire game. Let's take a look at pace. You're going to get everything on this page except for the bottom right sprint speed. All of these attribute upgrades will get us to 86 pace, and we'll have 80 acceleration and 91 sprint speed. The 91 sprint speed really helps out a lot for a box-to-box midfielder where you're going to be sprinting a lot, trying to get back on defense and help out on offense. So I really like having a lot of sprint speed when using a box-to-box midfielder, and I didn't have any problems with the pace on this build. And if you're going to be using chase down every time your team loses the ball, it kicks in for a bit and you feel absolutely rapid. You can get back into position and win the ball back for your team quite often with chase down if you are going to be using that perk. So that's going to complete this Hullet Gang center mid build in FIFA 23 Pro Clubs. The most well-rounded build you could possibly make in all of Pro Clubs. Let me know in the comments if you give this build a try and how you like it. Hit that like button on this video for me, and then hit that subscribe button on my channel if you haven't already subbed. As always, y'all have a great rest of the day, and peace out.